Never sell, just borrow. A lecture from Mr. Sticks. Ah yes, welcome back. I see you've returned, probably hoping I'll tell you how to flip $100 into $1 million overnight. Cute. Sit down. Today we're talking about a strategy so simple, so powerful, that most people ignore it completely because it lacks one thing. Excitement. No flashing charts. No panic selling. No breaking news, market crash. Energy. Just calm, calculated wealth building. I call it buy, hold, borrow, repeat. Step 1. Stop selling like it's a yard sale. Let me say this slowly so it sinks in. The wealthy don't sell their best assets. They collect them. You, on the other hand, you finally invest in something, it goes up 20%, and suddenly you're like, let me cash out before it drops. Congratulations. You just fired your best employee because he worked too well. Brilliant strategy. Meanwhile, the seasoned investor, the one you should be studying, is doing the opposite. They're buying high-quality assets and holding them like a grandmother holds onto her secret recipes. Forever. Step 2. Assets are not for spending. Here's where your mindset needs to shift. Assets are not your piggy bank. They are your foundation. Stocks, real estate, equity in businesses. These are not things you sell to go on vacation. These are things you keep so they can grow, compound, and multiply. Because once you sell, you interrupt the compounding. You shrink your future. You reset the game. And Mr. Sticks does not like resetting the game. Step 3. But how do I use the money? Ah yes, the question everyone asks. If I don't sell my assets, how do I actually use the money? Now we get to the part that separates amateurs from professionals. You don't sell your assets. You borrow against them. Let that sit for a second. You walk into a bank, not like a customer, but like an owner. You say, hello, see these assets I've been quietly building for years? Yes, those. The ones that keep growing. I like to borrow against them. And the bank, who loves people with assets, says, of course. How much would you like? Step 4. The power of collateral. When you borrow against your assets, something magical happens. 1. You keep your investments. 2. They continue to grow. 3. You access cash without selling. It's like owning a golden goose. And instead of killing it for one meal, you politely borrow money using the goose as proof that you're not broke. Now, while you're using that borrowed money, your assets are still in the background, growing, compounding, paying dividends in some cases, basically working harder than you. Again, step 5, taxes, or lack thereof. Here's where things get interesting. When you sell an asset, you usually trigger taxes. But when you borrow, that's not income, that's debt, which means you can access liquidity without immediately getting taxed on it. Now, I'm not your accountant, calm down. But this is one of the reasons the wealthy structure their finances this way. They don't rush to sell. They strategically borrow. Step 6, discipline required. Yes, I know. Boring. Before you get too excited and run to a bank with $47 and a dream, let's be clear. This strategy requires strong assets, patience, consistency, emotional control. In other words, everything most people avoid. You can't panic every time the market dips. You can't treat investing like a casino. You can't sell the moment things get uncomfortable. Because if you do, you won't have anything solid to borrow against. And then you're back to square one, trading your time for money. Step 7, the long game. This is not a 6-month plan. This is a 10, 20, 30-year strategy. Yes, I said years. I know. You wanted something faster. So does everyone else. That's why most people stay broke. The long game works because compounding needs time. Assets need time. Leverage needs time. You build slowly. Then one day, something shifts. Your assets become large enough that borrowing small amounts feels effortless. A simple example. Let's say you've built a portfolio worth $200,000. Instead of selling it to access cash, you borrow $20,000 against it. Now, your $200,000 keeps growing. You use the $20,000 for opportunity, business, investment, etc. You repay the loan over time. Meanwhile, your original assets continue doing their job. You didn't interrupt growth. You didn't trigger taxes in the same way selling might. You simply leveraged. Step 8. Who really wins? Let's compare two people. Person A invests, sells whenever they need money, repeats cycle, stays average. Person B invests, holds, borrows against assets, lets compounding run uninterrupted. Over time, Person B builds a machine. Person A builds transactions. And transactions don't create wealth. Systems do. Final words from Mr. Sticks. So here's the philosophy. Nice and simple. Buy great assets. Hold them. Borrow against them when needed. Repeat. No drama. No panic. No emotional roller coaster. Just strategy. Because at the end of the day, the goal is not to look rich. It's to become financially untouchable. To the point where your assets are so strong. You don't need to sell them. You simply lean on them like a quiet empire working behind the scenes. And when someone asks you, how are you funding your life? You smile, adjust your hat, and say, my money works. I just supervise. Mr. Sticks. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like the video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Shalom.